Hey everyone, this is James Roguski, and this video is an invitation to every American to participate in over a year-long effort to convince Congress and President Trump to repeal the PrEP Act from 2005. Now, if you're not familiar with the PrEP Act from 2005, you can certainly read about it below. But in summary, it is the root source of the problems that we all suffered through during the COVID-19 5-year period of abuse that we all had to go through. The PrEP Act does not prepare the nation for anything. The PrEP Act simply gave outlandish authority to the Secretary of Health and Human Services to declare an emergency, but more importantly, to declare, with just simply putting it into the Federal Register, that all of the people involved, the manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, the distributors, the doctors, the hospitals, the clinics, the pharmacies, everyone involved in implementing what they call covered countermeasures, the vaccines, quote unquote vaccines, um, products like remdesivir, and all of the treatments that were used, every single person involved was given immunity to prosecution for any harm that they may have caused. Now, you just got to let that sink in. If someone went to the pharmacy and wanted to get a flu shot, but they accidentally got a COVID-19 vaccine that they didn't want, that's covered. You can't sue them. If any harm occurred, and any type of ailment or death or loss of any kind, it was covered under the PrEP Act. No one, not the companies, not the hospitals, not the doctors, not the nurses, not the farm techs, not anybody can be sued. Now, why in the world at this point in time can we look back and say that that makes any kind of sense at all? If the products are safe and effective, which they are not, then why do all of these people and all of these companies need this protection? Well, quite frankly, it's licensed to commit murder. It's licensed to commit crime. And I encourage everyone to read up about the PrEP Act. I don't know anyone who, after they've read it and comprehended what it's really all about, thinks that it was a good idea from way back in 2005. Thank you, George W. Bush, for nothing. And everyone who understands what this is should rise up and demand that their representative in Congress and their two senators sign legislation, sign on and vote for and support legislation to repeal the PrEP Act. It's a very simple thing. Take that act from 2005 and remove it. It violates the Constitution in a number of different ways. It protects companies from doing whatever they want to do that ultimately ends up harming people. And it is an abuse of the rights and freedoms that we have to protect ourselves from the harmful products that have been thrust upon us.
What also happens under public health emergency is HHS secretary becomes de facto head of the government and a dictator. Again, nobody really knows, but there was Alex Azar, now it's Javier Becerra, who deploys these things on the United States population, on every man, woman, and child here. And he, in his sole capacity, or she, whoever succeeds them, decides the criteria for this deployment is their personal decision whether these particular things, countermeasure prototypes by Department of Defense, may be effective. That's it. There's no other standard.
Okay, so let me just clarify what you're saying. Normally, the protocols that you had to go through in your businesses, you would do, you do a series of proposals, you design the clinical trials to make sure that they're going to show efficacy, that they're going to show safety. You do those clinical trials for a number of years. And then you go and show the results to FDA, and FDA has to make determinations about safety and efficacy, and has to make determinations that the product is going to avert more harm than it causes, and the appropriate warnings and the the side effects that you put on the manufacturer's inserts, and all these 1,000 things that you have to do to get a product to market and get the inspections, etc. Here, all of those are abolished, and the only determination is that the Secretary of HHS decides in his head, with either some evidence or no evidence whatsoever, that the product may be effective.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. So, and even if the evidence then shows that it's not effective, if he can say, well, I still believe it's effective,
Absolutely.
it stays on the market. Even if there's a mountain of evidence that says it's killing people, it's not effective, he can choose legally under his own decision making that I'm going to believe this is effective no matter what the evidence says. And as long as I believe it's effective legally, I can, essentially mandate it for all Americans.
Now, if you're not familiar with this heinous piece of legislation, the PrEP Act is the license to kill. A covered person shall be immune from suit and liability under federal and state law with respect to all claims for the loss caused by, arising out of, relating to, or resulting from the administration to, or the use by, an individual of a covered countermeasure. So like Paxlovid, or the vaccines, or these invasive tests that they ram up people's noses. And loss includes anything, any type of loss, up to and including death. And then it talks about the scope. It says the immunity under paragraph 1 applies to any claim for loss that has a causal relationship with the administration to or use by an individual of a covered countermeasure. So it includes if the vaccine killed somebody and caused their death. There's a reason this is on the books. And the reason is obvious. And it basically includes everything: design, development, clinical testing, investigation, manufacturing, labeling, distribution, formulation, packaging, marketing, promotion, sale, purchase, donation, dispensing, prescribing, administration, licensing, or use. And now we have the HHS conspicuously extending these obscene protections, this genocide-enabling clause. The PrEP Act is a license to kill, a license to genocide, a license to mass murder. It's disgusting. So one obvious question is, why do you need liability protection if you say it's so safe? This is about deploying poisons to weaken the population, shorten lifespans, and outright execute the frail and disabled. Absolutely disgusting. Oh, and don't forget the contraceptive aspect that seems to be at play as well. We've seen many, many reports of menstrual irregularities and lower sperm counts. And we will not have justice until everybody involved, forcing and mandating these products, giving them without getting proper informed consent, we will not get justice until they all pay for their crimes against humanity. They still want to inject all these products without any liability. They still want to inject all these vaccines that have been linked to so many problems with total liability protections. They still want to ram these tests up people's noses with their porcupine spikes, impaling the flesh. And they want to have total immunity for that as well. Oh, and don't forget the oral products, Paxlovid, etc., etc. All of these state-sanctioned COVID treatments will continue to be used, it sounds like, and they're giving themselves a license to kill.